Never has been Wagner private military company and their leader Yevgeny Prigozhin so present in the public eye as now. Putin's former chief had been a technical person for a long time. Why now he claims his place in the system of Russian power? And who are Wagner Group mercenaries? A high project similar to Kadyrov's followers or a real fighting force? You are watching UATV, I'm Oleksiy Matsuka, and let's figure it out. Prigozhin, who preferred to take a back seat, is a public figure now. He criticized Russian military command, he recruits prisoners from Russian prisons. Rumors are swirling that he sees himself almost as Putin's successor. Why this is the case? Of course, he isn't a completely unknown person. It's believed that Prigozhin was one of the creators of the so-called troll factory, which controlled thousands of fake accounts on social media and tried to influence public opinion. Recently, he admitted to founding the private military company known as Wagner in 2014, reversing years of denials about his connection to the organization. Prigozhin went public with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The Western press even wrote that Prigozhin was the first to criticize the failures of the Russian army in Ukraine in front on Putin. Many are convinced that he and Kadyrov stand behind the appointment of General Surovikin, a new commander of the Ukrainian front. But what the purpose of this? Is he aiming for Shoigu's place or even for some higher office? When Politico newspaper compiled a rating of 12 possible successors to Vladimir Putin, Prigozhin was on the list.
He's got his own paramilitary group, the Wagner Group. And they're a law unto themselves, because he does have a problem constitutionally, and of course the constitution can be changed. No one with a criminal record can be president. Lecturer Stephen Hall of the University of Bath.
But this still does not mean anything. Many were called Putin's successors. Well, Prigozhin was clearly flattered by the publication. Publicity is beneficial for him today, the more the better. He is pushing the message, I can find better than Shoigu. Thus, he is trying to promote his people to new positions, both at the front and in the power. Thus, he frankly threatens local officials, creating conflict with them. For example, Prigozhin sent a statement to the Russian Prosecutor General's office demanding to conduct a check. Quote, Governor Beglov created an organized criminal community on the territory of St. Petersburg in order to enrich and plunder the state budget, end quote. Only the Kremlin can punish and pardon in Russia. The rest of the officials are only allowed to bite each other, but not to overstep certain bounds. Therefore, maybe this is a war for who to watch over the Putin's hometown. And maybe Putin is just looking who beats whom in this game. Here is another example. Prigozhin announced the construction of Wagner centers throughout Russia. Formally, it looks like a startup, but if this is an attempt to build a new political party structure, it will have connections with criminals. It already has a military wing, which together with Surovikin and Kadyrov will be able to compete with FSB. Many were frankly surprised by Prigozhin's compliments to President Zelensky.
Although he is the president of a country hostile to Russia at the moment, Zelensky is a strong, confident, pragmatic and nice guy. Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the Wagner private military company.
Perhaps this is a message that he supposedly can do better to negotiate with Kyiv, an attempt to show his effectiveness and significance, and apparently to both Bankova and the Kremlin. Maybe he is trying to get involved in the negotiation process. In order to answer these questions, we should figure out who are Wagnerites. How many of them are in Ukraine? How effective are they in this war? And how do they differ from the Kadyrovites? Prigozhin and Kadyrov are now in the same boat. They act together and catch as much hype as they can. Even Russian military correspondents, people who are extremely loyal to the system, began to openly write that the Kadyrovites, with all their military success, are nothing more than PR campaign. Such cleansing units of the occupied territories are not capable of attacking, so they cannot play a decisive role in the war. But they create fame for themselves by making vivid videos about the fact that they captured or liberated something. Kadyrov presents his Tik-Tok battalions as if any success at the front is their own doing. At the same time, they are trying to distance themselves from any failures. The situation with the Wagnerites is quite different. They are indeed used as assault troops. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, there were up to 5,000 mercenaries from the Wagner group in Ukraine.
They are being selected. Those who have combat experience and appropriate training are shortlisted. As a rule, these are officers. And there are people who can really perform the most difficult psychological, emotional, and physical tasks. This is not the regular military. This is a slightly higher level. Vadim Skibitsky, representative of Ukraine's Ministry of Intelligence.
In many ways, the effectiveness of the Wagnerites at the front was attributed to their autonomy. The most combat-ready units did not go into absurd frontal attacks, but at the same time they held their positions when the regular army retreated. Then something seems to have changed. Even 6 months ago, the Wagner group was indeed a combat-ready group with high demands. But then videos of how Prigozhin personally recruited prisoners in Russian prison appeared on social media. He began a recruiting tour with colonies for former security forces and then switched to strict regime institutions. Prigozhin recruited about 6,000 prisoners in the colonies. According to Russian human rights activist Olga Romanova, this figure is almost twice as high, 11,000, of which 3,000 are already at the front. How will the recruitment of thousands of prisoners affect the situation at the front? There is a little sense from such recruits. The American Institute for the Study of War has calculated that more than 500 have already died, and the total loss of Wagnerites in Ukraine is up to 1,000 people. Why one solid formation becomes a hideout for the prisoners? The simple answer is money. The budget money goes for every new mercenary. It gives Prigozhin the opportunity to earn money. Recently, Maxar Technologies released satellite images that shows the so-called Wagner line, a 2 kilometers fortification. It consists of 4 rows of cement pyramids and a large moat. But according to media rumors, Prigozhin may own a concrete plant that produces these pyramids. So it gives some extra credit to his idea that no one but we will stop Ukraine's counter-offensive better. Another question is about hiring the Afghan military who were trained by the United States to fight in Ukraine. Is it a propaganda? At first, Washington officials told about it in off-the-record conversations. Allegedly, they received information that the commanders of the Afghan National Army who were left out of work after the US left the country are receiving offers to join Russian private military companies. Now this information has become public. Foreign Policy magazine wrote about that. They say that from 200 to 300 people are left out of work and are forced to hide from the Taliban. and someone is trying to recruit them to Prigozhin's company.
Some former commandos report being contracted on WhatsApp and Signal with offers to join what some experts refer to as a Russian Foreign Legion to fight in Ukraine. News of the recruitment efforts has caused alarm in Afghanistan's former military and security circles, with members saying up to 10,000 former commandos could be amenable to the Russian offers. As other military source put it, they have no country, no jobs, no future, they have nothing to lose. Foreign Affairs newspaper.
This is a big statement, isn't it? If such people in Pakistan or Iran get some $3 or $4 a day, then $1,000 a month from Wagner could really seduce them. But as well, a well-informed source in the American law enforcement agencies told me the US intelligence services are aware of the situation. But as of now, not a single fact of recruitment has been recorded. And so far, they cannot say whether this is a serious challenge of Moscow's way of misinformation. What will happen next? If suddenly Prigozhin manages to hire someone, will it change the situation at the front? We will definitely talk about this in the new videos. Please subscribe to our channel to stay tuned. See you in the next episode.